Hey guys, it's Kevin again. This is going to be my review for Crossbones Season 1, Episode 5, The Return, and wow, this episode once again was amazing. Once again, best episode of the season, and from here on out, I think the show's only just going to keep getting better, because so far, ever since, the first episode, every episode's been best episode of the season, and this episode definitely, this was the game-changing episode for this show. Like, seriously, this was the game-changing episode. Especially from the looks of the promo next week, it looks like a game changer. It's gonna, the next episode is definitely gonna be a big game changer, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where the show goes from here. So, if you guys don't remember, by the way, the return was a perfect title to this episode, because this was the return of Crossbones. This was the return from the one-week hiatus, and in case you guys don't remember, when we last left off, Lo had abandoned his affair with Kate, and Jagger had approached Antoinette. Basically, we didn't know what he was going to do with her. The ending was just them meeting up, and basically, Jagger now holds Antoinette, who is fully corporal. She's underwater, and, he keeps saying, "Will you speak to me now, Antoinette? Will you speak to me now? Tell me where he is." And he's probably talking, we don't know who he's talking about, we think he might be talking about possibly Blackbeard, or who he's talking about, but meanwhile, Tom is running through fields, and he's being chased and shot through all these redcoats, and, we don't know what's led to this, so I thought that was actually a really cool way to start it, and, all these shows have been doing that this week. They've been doing the 2 week later thing, and 2 weeks earlier, basically we see that Fletch is leading Lo to a mysterious cave, and Lo dismisses him, and enters the cave/laboratory, and Fletch returns so that Tom has someone to deliver his exposition to. And meanwhile, Blackbeard plans to lay waste to the English with all this gunpowder and submersive. And basically, Lo says, how are they going to stop them? If they destroy the explosive where they are, the explosion will take the town with it. This is beyond my control. And apparently Tom has to return to Jamaica, which is a huge thing. And, that was a really great thing right there. I was really looking forward to seeing where that was going to go. So back at Blackbeard's place, Tom tells the Commodore that his condition might be seen by some as demonic possession, and the Commodore assures him that he is not possessed, and Tom quips that some might disagree. In any case, Tom needs a special instrument to drill a hole in the Commodore's head to relieve pressure on the meat of the brain, because no one can be trusted to know about Blackbeard's condition. And to go to Jamaica to retrieve this instrument, and, once this happens, the Commodore then strolls out the door. So Selmia, who was overhearing the two of them speaking, she is now in the library and speaks to Charles, who again starts with, he knows. He pretty much knows that, Blackbeard knows about her and Charles having sex, and if, he keeps having that, he knows reaction, and I mean, she's got to tell him eventually. She's got to tell him, because if she doesn't tell him, I'm pretty sure Blackbeard already knows. I mean, he can kind of tell. The last episode, we saw that he could kind of tell the truth. So, if she doesn't tell Blackbeard the truth, then that might really screw up her relationship with him. So, then it questions how is it possible that Commodore would know they had sex. And, of course, that neither of them, and especially because neither of them have been telling erotic tales of forbidden lovemaking, and the Commodore then comes in, dismisses Charles, and the Commodore says he's out of sorts, and Selmia says it's because the Commodore hasn't been confiding in his friends lately, but instead he's been conspiring with Tom. And the Commodore then takes expectation to this characterization of his relationship with Tom, and he would only ever conspire with Selmia. She says that Tom makes her blood run cold, and basically, Blackbeard then says perhaps that's for the best, since your blood seems to have been running uncharacteristically hot of late. Well, I probably would have thrown the collected works of Shakespeare at his head for that slut-shaming, and, basically, Selmia just has a pretty grimace, and the Commodore then, the Commodore might know, we might not know. I think they're gonna continue to have more of that storyline as it goes on, but after that, it wasn't really mentioned. So, Blackbeard then brings Tom a book that shows the procedure that Tom had described, and he tells Tom that he's going to let him go to Jamaica to get the instrument because he knows Tom's desire for Kate will bring him back to the island. He then uses a telescope as a visual aid to represent Lowe's drive and sends him off, and Tom smirks as he leaves the room. So Kate then flies into a rage of Tom's beach hobo, and she's very angry that he's leaving. Even though they had a brief affair, she still does really care about him, obviously. And she's accusing him of planning to betray the people of the island in some way. And Tom matches her passion and ups the angry, sexy aunt by throwing her against the wall, gazing intently in her eyes, telling her that if he betrayed the island, he wouldn't get to see her every day. And then he kissed her, and possibly their affair might be back on, because it seemed like in that scene, he still really cared about her, she cared about him. It seemed like this affair might be continuing, possibly, so we'll have to see what happens there. Yeah, that was definitely very interesting. So, meanwhile, if you remember, Nenna, we found out, was a lesbian, and she really likes that girl, Rose. And it turns out, it looks like now they're actually in a relationship now, because Nenna then digs up her booty to gift some of it to her, I'll say girlfriend, because we don't, I'm assuming that Rose is her girlfriend. We haven't really seen that, but she's not satisfied with some, and she nuzzles Nenna threateningly. She wants it all. So she, the difference between Rose and Nenna is that Rose is very, very rich, and Nenna's not. So, if Nenna wants to win Rose's heart, she needs to give her more than just a little bit of booty. She needs to give her, like, a whole bunch of money, and then she'll be happy. So then we see Kate meets with Charles to report back on what she's discovered with Tom. But now this is very surprising. It's just like, what? Wait a second. I thought Tom was the one that was spying on Blackbeard, so why would Kate be meeting up with Charles? But, she has to report in, Tom's promise not to betray the Commodore, and by extension, the island. She tells Charles that Tom is a better man than him in every way. So, that was very surprising. Selmia has news for the Commodore, and that is that the Spanish treasure fleet is prepping to leave in a few days, and he says the game is afoot. Now, Fletch, in the meantime, he doesn't want Tom to leave him behind, and Tom advised him to cooperate with the English when they arrive, and he'll be fine. These pirates kill innocents, Fletch asks, but what of the people you've killed? Conscience isn't one of the burdens I carry, Tom replies. Then he dares Fletch to betray him. He'll find himself on that same list. So Nenna and Tom then take a ship to Cuba, where he slinks off to do mysterious business, and she then meets with a businessman who insults her before taking her money to acquire a plantation, and later he will tell her that it's not enough and she will negotiate to get a bit more to pull together the full amount. So she is working very hard to give that money to Rose, because she really cares about her. So then after a swim, Kate stops for a chat with Fletch, who assures her that Tom will return. He makes a poignant observation that most people lie to seem kinder and better than they are, but Tom lies to appear cold-hearted when actually he is just the opposite. So, Kate rejoined. Now, this is very interesting because, Kate could be some sort of a spy as well. Kate might be hiding something from Tom, and that's a very interesting scene because Kate might be hiding something from Tom, all we know, because if that scene that we just had with Charles, she could be hiding something from Tom, so it's going to be interesting to see where that goes. Now, Kate then rejoins James, and he's very pensive. He's dreaming of Scotland, and he must be recovered. And he's now recovered from his opium withdrawal. And he and Kate then have sex, and she doesn't seem to be complaining about it. And he then apologizes for being very selfish and cheating her of a happy life, and promises to do whatever it takes to make it right. And you gotta feel bad for the guy because for a couple weeks now, he has been cheated, she has been in this affair with Tom and hasn't even told James about it. So I'm thinking, just like Selmia and the Commodore, he is eventually going to find out. He's going to find out because Tom is actually, a good guy. He's the hero of our story, and he's going to feel guilty eventually, and James is going to find out eventually, especially if there's something that Kate is hiding from Tom, which I'm pretty sure there is now, justifying by that scene. So the Commodore then visits the wild man, Henry Hereford, and implores him to work quickly, and he almost catches Fletch following him. And then we get probably the biggest scene of the episode, which is when Tom finally meets up with Jagger, who interrogates him about where he's been, and they thought he was dead. And Tom then drops a bomb with Edward Teach, and Jagger then drops his tea, and, that's where Tom was. And Jagger then drops his tea. He was very surprised about that, and Tom shows him his drawing of Teach, Commodore Blackbeard, as proof. And, basically we find out that Blackbeard, and that was a very big reveal in my opinion. Stupid laundry alarm. We basically find out that, that Blackbeard's real name is Edward Teach, and I thought that was definitely very interesting. And Jagger says, tell me about him. And Tom is a bit more forthcoming than perhaps he ought to be. And he comes off as sympathetic to Teach's intention to create a nation without kings. And Jagger's then nearly apocalyptic with Ignatian. And Commodore then pads up behind Selmia. And he needs to tell her 3 things. And these are very big things, definitely. And it's going to be very interesting to see with these goats. 1, he admires her more than he loves her, and he says he loves her a great deal. 2, we find out that he's dying, which we pretty much knew from the last episode. 3, the island's going to need a new leader. So basically, she needs to drop the agoraphobia and basically get out there among the people so that they accept her as leader when he's dead. They need to basically when he dies, she is going to take his place. I mean, that would be the logical thing to do. She is his girlfriend, so... And he says, Selmia, without you, it's finished, and I leave nothing behind my but ghoulish folklore. She wants nothing to do with his plan, and basically, he wants her to carry on the legacy, basically. So, the question is she actually going to do it? Because we don't know really what she's thinking in her head right now. So, it's going to be interesting to see what she does. So then back at Jagger's, Tom relays that island life is actually rather nice, and Blackbeard has done a decent job of leading the people, and Jagger accuses him of blasphemy, and Tom's just following orders to report back on Teach, and Jagger corrects him, and Tom was ordered to kill Teach on sight, which we knew that that's the truth. He was ordered to kill him. I was glad they brought that back up, because as we know, he was supposed to kill him, and he didn't. So, in any case, Tom wants to tell him about Teach's plan to attack English interests, and Jagger wants to know where the island is so he can send his military to kill everyone, and Tom negotiates on behalf of Kate and Fletch, and he wants to be far away when it happens, and Jagger promises he'll be sent back to England, and this will be making of you, Tom. You'll be able to step out of the shadow of your infamy. And Tom then admits that he feels some responsibility for the pointing the island, and he finally agrees to point out the island on the map, and Jagger then calls his bluff. He's been to that island, and it's all sand, and then Tom explains that he will kill Teach, but he won't condemn innocent people. And, that is, very big. So, they then get into a huge fight. Tom is stabbed. He prevails when he knocks Jagger out, skulls back through the city to pick up the instrument from the Commodore's procedure, and some bandages for his wounds. And then we're back to the first scene, because now we know why these redcoats come, because they're chasing him, because an alarm sounds off, and they shoot him through the fields. He jumps from the cliff, and he swims away. There's a shark in the water, but he starts swimming away from it. So, that was definitely very, very big. And then the ending of the episode, Selmia then works up the nerve to leave the compound and draws stairs as she strolls through town. And she acquires a mango from Kate's stand, and Commodore watches from the house and murmurs that she's done enough and she'll come home. And then the very last scene is very strange. He's, a little opium high, and the ghostly, we see the ghost Antoinette again. She visits holding a squirming baby, and the Commodore, throws up where the squirming baby is. He then wakes up to realize that the baby he's taken on is crying in the other room. So, basically, that baby is alive, and here's what I'm thinking that's going to happen with that baby. I'm thinking here's what's going to happen. Selmia, as we know, does not want to be part of, she does not want to take over for Blackbeard. So, Blackbeard is going to raise his son so he can take over as king. That's what he wants. That's what he's going to do. He's going to raise his son so he can take over. That's kind of what I'm thinking is going to happen. Now, next week's episode looks awesome. It looks like Tom might be executed, which is not going to happen because he's the main character, obviously. But Blackbeard is going to have a black beard when we next see him. So, people are going to find out he's Blackbeard. People are going to find out that he's been hiding his Blackbeard. And there was some big, big reveals in this episode, which I personally really loved all the big reveals in this episode. I love the fact that we found out Blackbeard's real name. I mean, that was something that I wasn't personally thinking about, but the fact that we do know his real name now, that is something that I didn't even, yes, I did not think about it, but it is very interesting. It's going to be interesting to see, you know, where that goes and everything, so that's definitely very interesting. Now, also, what the hell is Kate hiding from Tom? We know that she met up with Charles to report to him what she said to Tom, so what is she hiding from him? I'm thinking that Kate is some sort of spy or something like that, and there goes the laundry alarm again. Sorry guys, but you know, I'm thinking that she's some sort of spy that's going to report back to, you know, that's spying on Tom or something. I really don't know what's happening there. We'll have to see. But I'm pretty sure Kate is hiding something from Tom. Is Blackbeard going to find out about Selmia's affair? I'm pretty sure he's going to. We'll have to see what happens there. Selmia wants nothing to do with him at this point. She doesn't want to, you know, now that she knows he's dying, she doesn't really want anything to do with him. And, you know, Charles keeps telling her, you gotta tell him, you gotta tell him, you gotta tell him. So is she going to tell him? We'll have to see what happens. Because if she doesn't tell him, he's going to keep annoying her about it. Charles, he's going to keep annoying her about it. And the only other thing is Nenna going to be able to get that money for Rose? As we know, Rose, if she wants to win Rose's heart, she has to give Rose everything, and that's what Rose wants. So is Nenna going to be able to get it? We'll have to see what happens there. And also Antoinette. What leads Jagger to torture Antoinette? You know, we don't know. We didn't see that scene in this episode, so I'm guessing that's going to be the next episode where that happens. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But that's it for my review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And, yeah, this show's getting very, very interesting. I think next week is going to be probably the best episode of the season. It looks really, really intense next week. I'm really looking forward to it next episode. And I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for another classic mirror review. So I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.